I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the Ngunnawal people, traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today, and pay my respects to their elders past and present, in particular Auntie Agnes Shea. I'd also like to extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are present. I'd like to acknowledge Senator George Brandis, Professor Sue Willis, distinguished keynote speakers of the plenary sessions, and distinguished international keynote speakers. It's a great honour to be invited to address this inaugural national forum for the Council of the Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences here in Canberra. I found the theme of the conference, Equality, Innovation, Resilience, Building Societies of the Future, intriguing. It links my three portfolios: sport, multicultural affairs and industry and innovation. There's no doubting the importance of the humanities, arts and social sciences in building and sustaining an inclusive culture and a competitive economy. The humanities, arts and social sciences play a vital role in informing public policy, and not the least in my portfolios. In driving innovation across the economy in their own right, these disciplines also act as filaments that join all the other areas of learning and place them into perspective, providing the rationale and the context. This is especially important now because if we are to respond to the cultural, environmental and economic change to build a better future, we must take a multidisciplinary and collaborative course. These challenges cannot be effectively resolved if they're treated only as technical or economic issues. And my colleague Senator Kim Carr put it succinctly when he said in 2008 that the humanities, arts and social sciences raise the standard of scientific and technical innovation by shining an inquiring and sometimes critical light on its ethical, historical, cultural and social consequences. Powering Ideas, the government's 10-year innovation agenda, argues that research in the humanities, arts and social sciences yields important economic, social, environmental and cultural benefits for Australia. Over the last few years, we've seen how creative thinking can drive productivity with both social and economic benefits. I believe that design integration has enormous potential to transform businesses, community and public sector organisations, as well as their products and services. One of the recent achievements of Enterprise Connect's Creative Industries Innovation Centre has been the success of its design integration pilot. Based on successful work in New Zealand, Queensland and Victoria, this project has demonstrated the value of design-led innovation. Recently, while in London with the UK Design Council, I saw examples of design-led innovation that have made hospitals safer, improved patient dignity and reduced aggression and violence in accident and emergency wards. Lateral thinking brought to bear by industrial designers, ergonomists, fashion designers and psychologists allowed these problems to be solved. I'm also aware that of the great work being done in Adelaide by the Australian Centre for Social Innovation in creatively addressing the problems of stressed families. Each of these initiatives is looking at creating new relationships focused on the needs and experience of the people they're designed to help. They all deal with clients with constrained resources and facing wicked or entrenched problems. A critical dimension of this forum's theme, deserving of our attention, is what Steve Jobs has called the intersection of information technology and the liberal arts. This intersection aims to direct technology to the real needs and, it must be said, desires of people. Creative industries themselves and universities are being challenged and transformed by the development and adoption of new technologies, such as online media and online educational courses and resources. These challenges should be seen as an opportunity to develop new ways of working that can be spread to other walks of life. I noticed that one part of this forum's program draws a distinction between the human and the technological. I believe that technology is all too human, not a force external to society. It is a mark of our species. And digital technology did not fall to earth in the mid-20th century. It was a response to the need to manage the increasing demands of complexity and speed and efficiency. If we understand that technology is human, we can see the human factors and the forces behind the drive for technology and deal with them in political forums and public debate in a confident and comprehensive way. The belief that technology exists outside of social relationships makes it easier to hide or miss possible agendas behind its dissemination. Innovation, driven by creative and critical thinking, is the key to negotiating these challenges. Another key is working across established organisational boundaries through new collaborations. These widespread human connections require a high-speed, ubiquitous broadband network, and the National Broadband Network is a major investment in essential infrastructure. It will complement our other investments, particularly in terms of our human capabilities, by increasing access to universities and the long-term agenda to ensure that Australia grows a skilled and confident workforce and an informed society. The NBN for many in the future will de-link their geographic location with their employment. More than anything, along with mobile and cloud-based technologies, it's the foundation for new applications and new relationships that build links across the traditional social, institutional, cultural boundaries, even corporate boundaries. This cross-boundary approach is also critical in approaching other elements of this forum's major theme. Social cohesion in a diverse culture is a challenge faced by many countries. Australia's approach to multiculturalism over many decades has created a stable environment that has allowed people to retain and define their own identity while participating in a broader society. But how do we know how such a broad long-term social policy is working? The phenomena involved are diverse and abstract. The multicultural basis of our culture is supported through social research, which is critical to providing the foundation for evidence-based policy. Many of us believe the contributions of migrants to our society, culture and prosperity have helped significantly to shape our nation. We believe cultural diversity contributes substantially to our ability to innovate, to be productive and to generate economic growth. But how can we be confident about the impact of our migration and settlement programs? Well, it is through social research, research conducted by both private and public research organisations. For example, the Department of Immigration and Citizenship has worked with Access Economics, an independent economic consultancy, over many years to develop the Migrants' Fiscal Impact Model. According to this model, in 2010-11, the net impact on the economy of Australians' migration and humanitarian programs and the temporary business program was over $1.6 billion in the first year, $1.3 billion over a 10-year period, and $1.9 billion over 20 years. These migration programs also open up opportunities and relationships with the rest of the world. Merely looking at trade and other interactions with other nations, it comes with a series of quantifiable economic outcomes that will allow us to prosper. Now, how do we know this? Well, it's through public sector research by the Productivity Commission in 2008. The cultural, religious and linguistic diversity of Australia's people has made our country richer, while their contribution to sport, art, cuisine and cultural festivals add new and exciting layers to the fabric of our nation. How do we know this? Because of research undertaken by Professor Graham Hugo from the University of Adelaide for the Department of Immigration and Citizenship. We know the more socially inclusive a community is, the more socially and economically productive and entrepreneurial it is. And we know this because we've had the years of research in the field of migration and settlement that justifies such conclusions. These are just a few, albeit critical parts of the process of building linkages within our cities and regions. Ensuring strong and resilient communities is a priority. As a government, what we'd like to do is keep on building on our strengths, our social and community infrastructure, and services that support our communities to be their absolute best. I'm sure that you are aware that the Australian Government is determined to foster the more effective translation of our science and research into outcomes for Australians. And as I've argued today that the humanities, arts and social sciences are contributing to this discourse, I believe that we can and must lift this to a higher level by finding better ways to link researchers to business and to the community sector. Encouraging a creative and imaginative Australia is essential because so much of the economy of the 21st century is going to require that broad capability. The The economic goal is a knowledge-based economy with high skill and high wage jobs. But the ultimate aspiration is a fair, resilient, sustainable, competitive and diverse society. Equally, the research into health and wellbeing qualities of organised sport and recreation is driving a deeper understanding and more effective policy to promote active lifestyles. I don't have the time today to go into this aspect of my portfolios in more detail, but to illustrate the value of collaborative links, sport is identified as one of the most effective platforms for social inclusion for our diverse communities. In conclusion, the humanities, arts and social sciences can also play an important advocacy role to communicate the value of cultural diversity and social inclusion and their contribution to society. I am aware, for instance, that CHAS recently explored opportunities for modelling important social policy issues relating to the anti-racism strategy by taking a multidisciplinary and accessible approach at its forum, Expanding Conversations. I commend CHAS on this work on this important issue. It exemplifies the important leadership that the Council can play in the development of informed policy and action. This National Forum is a further opportunity for the Council to further explore ways to contribute to the contemporary policy debate. It's also an opportunity to identify common themes to progress the vital agenda around equality, innovation and Australia's place in the 21st century, as well as the ongoing examination of what makes us who we are. Thank you very much.